Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com with another video on how to use other cool functions in Python. Cool. So today we're going to be talking about decorators and generators. So first, a decorator is basically the idea of adding functionality to existing functions without modifying the function itself. So essentially what you're doing is you're creating a wrapper for the function via another function. So let's see this example here. So we're using this decorator to decorate the print function. So I define my decorator, decor, could be named anything. It's just literally all you're doing is you're just defining a function that is going to have another function inside of it. But take a look at the steps I take here, because so that way you can use this. So I define a function called decor. What it takes as a parameter is another function. Again, it's just a parameter, but we're going to name it func so that way we know what I'm expecting here is passing a function as the parameter. Okay, inside it, we're going to create the definition of another function, star, because we want the underlying return value to be this result. So it's going to print a bunch of stars, then it's going to run the function in between, and then print a bunch of stars. So it's literally decorating the stars, but it could be anything. So you could create, I don't know, sky's the limit. But the idea is that now it's going to also, on top of running this function that could just call by itself, it's also going to print these two lines. So that's the result of star. So that's why we're going to return the star function, because when I call the decoration, the result is we want it to run star, including the function that we're decorating. Cool. Okay. So here's the thing. I can't pass any parameters. So here is the trick to that. So what I need to do is define another function that includes what I want to happen. So I want to print a bunch of numbers. So I'm going to define a function print num that is going to take a parameter I, and we'll come back to what I is in a little bit. Okay, so it's going to take that parameter and run and print whatever that parameter is. So now I have this function, but this function print num takes no parameters. So now I can decorate it. So I'm going to create a variable called decorated, which is going to take a version of decor, this decorator function up here, where I pass print num, this function over here that I created, as a decorated function. So now, then I make a call on decorated. So when I call decorated, what it does, it actually runs decor with print num as a function. So then what happens, it comes back down to here, it's going to run star, print a bunch of stars, and then run print num, which then prints the contents of I, and then prints another line of code. Okay, so you can see here, it prints a bunch of numbers, and they're all decorated by stars now. Now, where are those numbers coming from? Well, for that, I used a generator. So this is a way to create like a list or a sequence of items without having to predefine a list. You're generating them on the fly. And this is also referred to as lazy number generation or lazy number generation. And the benefit of this is that you generate the number, but the number can be used right away while the other number, so basically you don't have to wait for all the numbers to be generated for the computer to start using the numbers that have already been generated. Okay, so there are some memory benefits to that and speed and whatnot. So for very large programs where you're generating very large numbers, this may be something you'd want to do versus creating a list. So in this case, I created a function called numgen for num generator. It's going to generate a variable amount of numbers, so variable num. So num is going to tell us how many times we're going to run this while loop. So so basically it's going to run the loop while I is less than or equal than num. And each time it does that, it yields a number. That's the generating part. So in any function, so right now it's up to this point, it's just been a normal defining of a function. But when I use the yield command, what it does, it yields a number that's going to hold on to. It's not going to just eliminate, that number doesn't disappear with the next iteration of the loop. It actually is going to hold on to it and return the whole list of numbers that get yielded as the function runs. So it's going to yield I, which the first time will be 0, then 1, then 2, up until num. Okay, and then each time I gets incremented, so that way eventually we break out of the loop. Cool. So now we can kind of go. So and the cool thing about generators is you can iterate over generators. So this function is generating a number. I can actually create a loop on that list of numbers. So I can do a for I in numgen loop. So it's a for I, again, is our variable, in number generator, and it's going to generate up to 10 numbers, or numbers up to 10. So here we go, we see the numbers generated. So it runs a loop, and each time I is going to equal. So that's why I defined the function here. So that way each time the loop runs, it's redefining the function, and it's going to be printing the new number, and then it just gets redecorated. So it's literally running through that decoration process with each loop. So that way, because otherwise, if I did this outside of the loop, then I could only decorate one instance of print. I would have to literally create a variable, a version of the decorated variable for each time I wanted to change what it prints, which that'd be a lot of work. Okay, so this one's a little complicated, so you might want to watch this a few times to kind of see how that all played out. But essentially, the decorator is you're creating a function that adds extra steps to an existing function. So again, in this case, we're wrapping the print with those stars. And the generator is a function that generates a sequence of numbers that can be iterated. So you can run loops over this this generated number set, which could be generating even numbers between x and y. You can imagine any kind of thing you can create. You can then run a generator against. So that's what these two things are. Hopefully these are two cool new tools for your tool belt. My name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Have a great day and enjoy.